Hello everybody, this is Michael Haupt and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the next session in our Purpose Economy Telesummit. Today we're in conversation with CEDRIC SCHEEPERS, but before I introduce CEDRIC, I encourage you to add your voice to the conversation. If you're watching us live, there's a little chat box to the right with a big red banner over it. Type your question in there as CEDRIC is speaking and we'll make sure that he answers your question towards the end. If you're watching this as a recording, there is a link below this video where you can join the conversation on our forum. Post your thoughts, questions, opinions there, and our speaker will be able to interact with you. So, CEDRIC SCHEEPERS is the founding CEO of Quainted, an enterprise social network that allows companies to improve bottom line performance. CEDRIC, it's a great pleasure to be chatting with you today.
Thank you, Michael, and I agree. It really is a pleasure for me to speak today, and I hope the viewers also find today's topic interesting. And I would also like to encourage them to post their questions, as today's topic really is one of the hardest topics around.
Great stuff. So, known as a management consultant, a crowdsourcing specialist, and an entrepreneur, CEDRIC has worked with major international organizations across many sectors in Africa, UK, Europe and Asia. He's seen the shortcomings in human capital, so CEDRIC turned his attention to address the needs of current-day organizations. He's helping companies solve today's human capital issues, and he makes use of the latest trends in enterprise social media, gamification, and proven age-old methodologies. And here to lead the conversation with CEDRIC today is the founder and CEO of Proudly for Purpose, Magna Rotenbach.
Thank you, Michael. Michael is my co-host for the Telesummit. He's the CEO and founder of the Brain Bar, which provides visibility, impact, and business services for thought leaders. And CEDRIC, thank you so much for availing yourself to explore with us one of the topics very close to my heart, human capital growth. New innovative ways to weave it into the DNA of your business.
It's a pleasure for me to talk today, and I'm really looking forward to it.
There's growing awareness that growth and wealth need to be redefined by a holistic mix of ethical, natural, financial, manufactured, intellectual, social, and human capital. Human capital is seen as central to growing and sustaining companies, and more so in today's challenging business landscape. So, CEDRIC, why is human capital growth so vital to the sustainability of organizations?
Magna, today in the US alone, $300 billion is lost annually, plainly because of employees who are either disengaged, who have high stress levels, and who are simply just plainly unproductive. If I can just mention a couple of other statistics, 87%, and this is according to a Gallup finding, 87% of them are actively disengaged. 75% actually want to quit today and the biggest result is their boss. 74% are experiencing a low energy crisis. 70% actually do not feel valued by the employer at all. 60% feel their career goals are not aligned to their employer. So I can carry on with these statistics, but it really is a big problem globally today that human capital is coming to the foreground and it becomes a very big topic. And the other challenge is the C table is inviting the chief of HR to join the party and really making it a strategic function. So human capital is really becoming a major topic today, and it really becomes very important, and it can't be afforded to turn a blind eye to it anymore.
Now, CEDRIC, you are passionate about disruptive new economy thinking on how companies can optimize and grow human capital to ultimately improve their bottom line performance. How does an enterprise social network like Quainted contribute to that?
I would like to talk about an enterprise social network, exactly what it is. A long time ago, we had to communicate using slow mail. And thereafter, we could replace that by the telephone, and thereafter came email. So enterprise social networks is simply the evolution of communication. And it's here to stay. So what's happened with enterprise social networks, and according to Gartner, and I'll use their terminology, there was a hype cycle. So anything that enters the hype cycle becomes the topic of the day. Enterprise social networks, social networks. It really is the talk of the day, and also in business. So what happened was everyone got into the bandwagon and tried to coin, well, not coin, but to make money of this new emergence. And you would have found that many companies are playing in this space, but they're not really adding value. But enterprise social networks are here to stay, and they will add value. And it's simply a case nowadays of finding the sweet spot of exactly what it is that we need to do.
And Quainted joined that space. So if it's so crowded, why then another one? And what makes Quainted unique?
So just to quantify why it's crowded, and yes, you're quite right in saying so, there are many other big players, and I'll quickly mention a couple of names. I'm sure our viewers are familiar with Yammer. Then there's others like IBM, SAP, SuccessFactors, who's part of SAP, and then there's plenty more. Now, they all operate in that space. Now, if I can focus in on what they do, then it will become quite obvious why Quainted is something unique. What these other enterprise social networks do is they talk about documents or projects or topics that are related to business. So, as I said, with the evolution of communication, communication is still at the order of the day. They talk about documents. And that's not really always value adding. It's got a very important space in companies, but it's not the value adding thing. So where Quainted is unique and where we think we can really add value to companies is by not to talk about those things, but to encourage employees to partake in a global space, well, not a global space, but an intercompany space where they can connect with others. What we do is we take that information and we have a look at what the leadership looks like, what culture looks like, employee engagement, how connected people are, and so forth. And we put that at the foreground. So what Quainted is unique about is revealing how companies are operating, what the leadership style looks like. Is it productive? Is it counterproductive? What culture is reigning in the organization? Are employees really bringing themselves to work, or are they really staying at home with all the other issues? So the uniqueness of Quainted is not doing what the other enterprise social networks are doing very well, but it's actually bringing something new, and it's bringing something human capital to the foreground.
So Cedric, it's all about weaving human capital, health and well-being into the DNA of business.
That's correct. It's about accessing that information, and there's a wealth of information, and putting that information into the decision maker's hands. Quainted offers not only the employee but also the employer so many benefits, and one of the benefits that employers can tap into is this wealth of information. They can actually see, and it's pretty nice pictures that we can show the employer of what the wellness looks like for the employees. And if I talk about wellness, I talk about the wellness we all know. It's emotional, environmental, financial, mental, occupational, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. But not only that, we also can give them an overview of skills, passions, values, energy, and so forth. Just on the skills, the passions, and the values database that we have, if an employer ever wants to redefine their values, it can be a simple exercise as to take what the values are, the collective values of the employees are, and then taking those and making them their own, the company's own. So responsible organizations can no longer afford to turn a blind eye to their employees or even their wellness and so forth. If you disregard the employee and what's happening at home, you are really going to actually bring those issues into work, and it's going to play a massive role on your bottom line and things like customer experience as well. But before we can do all that and reveal all of this magic, we need to be able to measure it. And if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it.
Now tell us a bit more about this way of doing it. Why don't you take us through a short step-by-step process of how corporate health can be assessed on an enterprise social network like Quanted?
So I'll like to split it up into two sections. The one is what the employer can do, and the other is what the employees will do. But I'll start with the employees. This being an enterprise social network allows people to join it and to leave it at will. So employees can sign up to the network, and then just like any other social network, they can connect to people that they know. And this will be people in their immediate environment, their office, their boss, their peers, colleagues, and so forth. As they connect with these people, these fellow employees, they can also rate the relationship. And that's a very important thing that's also unique to Quanted that I'll get back to later. They rate the relationship, and once that is done, they are connected. Thereafter, they start interacting with Quanted, and Quanted will prompt them for certain questions. For example, what do you think the leadership style looks like? Open-ended question, or it can be linked to a methodology. On the methodologies, Quanted is not linked to any specific methodology, and it can incorporate any methodology that's currently out in the market. Very important, companies don't have to adopt our methodologies or what we think is best practice, but they can take what they've had for years or what they believe is what is currently relevant. Once employees have answered these questions, they can also then go and complete their own profile. For example, upload their skills, and similar to LinkedIn, get these skills endorsed. They can also add their passions, their values, and they can then go and in-depth analyze their own wellness. So this is all part of them completing their profile. Once all of this information is done, it reveals something about a collection of people. In other words, a company. On the company side, what they will do, similar to employees, they will also register on Quanted. They will then connect with all their employees, or their employees might already be connected. Similar to Yammer, you need to register with a validated email address belonging to your employer, and this will already make the link for you. Once this is done, the company will then be able to view all of this information. Now, depending on the account you have, how many employees you have, what exactly your needs might be, you need to upgrade as an employer your account. And that is a very inexpensive exercise if we compare it to other competitive products, but only, and once again, competitive products only offer collaboration around documents or projects or topics related to business. All of this information is then revealed to the employer, but never is an individual singled out. Very important point, and I would just quickly like to talk about that. We only report where there are 10 or more employees or people in a group, and only then will we say, and I'll quickly use an example, the leadership style is that of dictatorship. Never ever will we report on a single person or less than 10 people.
Yes, I was wondering whether it doesn't pose some privacy and security issues, which are obviously of paramount importance.
It's very important, but also not so important. So apologies for my split answer, but I'll quickly quantify both. For enterprise social networks, they can flourish whether they are highly skilled or equipped with security technology or whether they are not. If they are not, it's advisable that they operate behind the company's security wall, behind their firewall. Then it becomes a private network, an intranet. But when enterprise social networks are on the internet, for example, like Quanted, it becomes very important, privacy and security. So what Quanted have is the standard HTTPS, which is standard with all internet banking websites. And you'll also find it nowadays with Facebook, with LinkedIn. They all are on the HTTPS network. So then it becomes very, very important. Also, encryption of passwords, usernames, those type of things. It's also very important to have that spot on. But as I said, yes and no. No, if you're not on the internet, or if that's not your preferred market, you can be on a network. on an intranet. Otherwise, on the internet, these things become very important.
That makes perfect sense. And now once you engage the company and the employees have followed the steps you have outlined, what is then the deliverable or deliverables?
The deliverable, the outcome that companies would want is either improved revenue or improved customer satisfaction. So how we get to that, it will always be a multi-part step into identify what the problem is and then go and resolve it. Quainted does not resolve these issues. It's not a consulting firm. But what Quainted is very good is to highlight the soft and fluffy stuff. For example, the human capital. So where previously companies would have had consultants or industrial psychologists come in and analyze, this is the leadership style, this is the culture, this is the trust. Quainted will do that for even much cheaper than what they would have traditionally have done. So during this analysis phase, what Quainted will yield is one of the following, and it can be an organizational chart showing where things are going well and where things are not going so well. It can be a dashboard. Once a survey has been completed, you want to show a dashboard of various sections that you've analyzed, and you want to show what the score is pertaining to each one of those. So it can be a dashboard, and just quickly on the dashboard, it doesn't have to be a company-wide dashboard. It can be that, and it can be individual dashboards that comes to show up on a manager's screen once he logs into Quainted. So it can be drilled down to multi-levels. It can also be performance development plans for employees. So once a survey is done, let's say a manager heard the feedback that he's not the greatest manager, but in order to improve his leadership style or his management style, he needs to do A, B, C, and D. This can then form part of an online performance development plan or a normal project plan, and that can be put online on Quainted for him. Very important then also on these things, employees can then further provide input on those ongoing activities. So it doesn't stop once a survey has been completed. It lives on and it carries on in the organization. And then very lastly, the fourth deliverable that it can be plain and simple reports. It can be these thick reports outputting exactly what the overall score might be, being drilled down into a department, into divisions, per manager, and then how the team operates. Also very important, all of these deliverables are available 24/7, 365, and they're always updated with the latest real-time information, all available on the social platform.
And that's all so needed today. And it's clear then that companies able to weave human intelligence into the culture, the DNA of the company, would be better positioned to survive in these turbulent times.
Exactly. It's very important that something is taken and from employees and given to organizations in order for them to make better decisions. So the wellness of our employees, the productivity, engagement, energy levels, emotions, all of those things are very important, and they serve as early warning indicators of where the profitability or where the customer satisfaction is going. If we knew that tomorrow someone might be in a bad mood, we probably wouldn't put them in front of a customer. If we knew that people have financial issues at home, we probably wouldn't want to place them in positions where they've got authority over making payment decisions. So many times have we seen that fraud is committed because of people with financial problems. In fact, if I can quickly just highlight a couple of other statistics of why it's important to take this very important information and make it part of our DNA, I'm quickly going to do so. What we found was that 22% of the companies with highly engaged employees, who have energized employees, are 22% more profitable than companies who have less engaged employees. And productivity in highly engaged, low-stressed companies is 21% higher than the opposite. And customer satisfaction is 10% higher where employees are engaged. And then the things that might go wrong, like absenteeism, high turnover, theft, safety incident failures, and quality defects, they all vary from 37% right up to 60%, where it's less in companies with highly engaged, highly productive employees as opposed to the low energy companies. So it's very important that we take this information and weave it into the DNA of companies.
It's clear that there's huge benefits to reap if companies adopt such a human intelligence culture.
The benefits are astounding, and the research showing as to what the benefits will be, there's plenty. I think what's really happening also in the industry is people are too scared to connect a value to human capital related initiatives. It's always seen as the soft and fluffy, but we've seen that companies with engaged employees are 22% higher than companies with lesser engaged employees. We've seen, and I'll quickly use an example, Google has been named Employer of the Year a couple of times, and how they approach employees is completely different from what we've seen in the old corporate world, where everything is managed and everything is managed through a set old methodology, and people are awarded for their great performance once a year, and we've got performance development plans that are only devised once a year. We've seen the effects of old corporates, but nowadays new talent is coming into the market, and it's not only new talent, it's now a global market of talent as well. And with the diversity out there, new methodologies and new ways of working need to appear. So we've seen what happens with companies still really stuck in the past, as opposed to companies that are really embracing these new phenomena, these new mega trends. And the benefits are increased customer satisfaction up to 10%, and increased productivity up 21%, and profitability 22%. Sorry, Martha, for repeating those benefits again.
No, it's needed, and people should take it seriously for sure. Now, is Quainted custom designed, or what company should be looking at using Quainted?
Quainted is custom designed, so what we've offered our customers up to today is, depending on their needs, we've given them their own intranet or their own enterprise social network with own customized functionality, and we've also slimmed down some of the needed functionality. So Quainted at the moment is a catch bucket for many great tools that can be used in an organization. What we typically find is that companies with less than 50 employees, we give them Quainted for free. It's there on the internet, and they can use all of these great tools to their own discretion. But upward of 50 employees, what we found is then politics start playing a really big role. And that's where Quainted really is a sweet spot, is 50 employees and upwards. Once we've got 50 employees, we can then reveal very important data. And the data that we reveal is exactly, and I'm probably repeating myself and sounding like a parrot, but that's okay for today. What Quainted reveals are these things like, what does the leadership style look like? What does the culture look like? What does engagement look like? So if it's less than 10 people, we can't report on it. So, and where groups are 10 or bigger, we can report on that group or that department. It really rolls up very nicely into a bigger dashboard or bigger organizational indicators when it's 50 or more. Just very quickly then on the customization again, if it's on the internet, customers still have the opportunity and the ability to switch on or off certain functionality. So if it's an overload of great tools, then that can be switched off. So it can really be a niche product for each and every customer, or we can go and do the customization for each and every customer and place it on their premises, even if they desire to do so.
Well done. Surely sounds like the solution for the future. But is it a sustainable solution for you and for the companies engaged?
It really is a sustainable solution, and I'll quickly explain a couple of points why I personally believe it is, and probably it's not only my personal belief, but some other companies that's using it as well. The first point why it's a sustainable solution is because we are methodology agnostic. By that I mean we don't prefer any methodology. So when it comes to leadership, there are various wonderful and great tried and tested methodologies that are currently in practice, and they are being sold by many consulting firms worldwide. So what Quainted is capable of doing is taking all of these methodologies, placing it into Quainted, and allowing employees to work off that methodology. So it becomes a methodology agnostic tool, and it's similar to many other things that we've seen. Our computers, for example, are software agnostic. They do come with standard software, but it's very capable of taking other software onto its platform, and you can then interact with that. Similar with Quainted. The other reason why it is sustainable is the characteristics of many surveys, for example, is a survey happens once or twice a year, and it's needed to happen more than once, because we take a start point, we gather data, we see what it yields, and then we measure it again to see did we make any improvement. So that's a typical characteristic for a survey. Where Quainted steps in is doing the measurements in between those 2 points. And it allows a company to actively work and participate in what it wants to measure, not just once or twice a year. And also, once the consultants have left and they've left the survey, a company can carry on to measure exactly those points that stuck out as these are very important to move the company forward. The last point is if a company decides to use Quainted, it's very easy to migrate onto Quainted or to leave it. So we need to keep that always open for customers. And once they're on it, the data, the methodologies that they use, it doesn't disappear the moment that they leave. So it's always something that they can take away from Quainted if they do decide to leave. But it's such a wonderful and open platform that allows so many variations of interactions, even if it's in a negative form of customers leaving Quainted. So yes, it's a sustainable solution. We believe it will be around, and the people we're working with and the partnerships we've forged also believe it will be around, and it might be the new way of working and improving things like leadership, culture, trust, engagement, and so forth.
You say that you have gamification as part of Quainted. What exactly does it entail, and why did you take that route?
I'll quickly start with what is gamification. In theory, it's taking concepts from games, like awarding points, having leaderboards, making components a competition, and having more fun, and placing them into things that are really less exciting. The goal of doing so is to make the mundane things more fun, and by doing so, enforcing positive behavior. So Quainted has taken this plain, simple concept, and like any other, well, like most other platforms are doing today, has taken this concept and place it at the heart of Quainted. Why? Because we want to endorse positive behavior. We want to encourage managers to be better leaders. We want to encourage people to work on their trust. We want to encourage organizations to care more for their employees and their well-being. So we've taken this concept and applied it to very mundane things, very serious things, and that, for that matter, as wellness. And we believe that it will make a positive behavior. Also, when people's scores improve, they are applauded and encouraged by other people. And I'll quickly use an example of what we've seen this is a use case that we've got. The wellness at a certain company was extremely poor, especially on the physical wellness side. So we launched a campaign. This company, this corporate, has their own gym, and they started measuring people's physical wellness on Quainted and awarding gifts and prizes for people with the best improvement. And this was a competition, and the company I might give it away, but it's a fairly big company in South Africa. They've got about between 30 and 40,000 employees. So they started playing this game, and employees really took to it. It really boosted Quainted as well. But it was magnificent. So the big improvement for certain employees, they improved their body mass index, that is translated from their weight. They improved their body mass index from 40% downwards to 30%, which is a 10% improvement, which is a quarter, 25% improvement, but that's a massive improvement. And they actually won the prize. But that's exactly how we made something as mundane, as boring, as challenging as losing weight part of a company's culture. So that is gamification in short, and that's how we've deployed it. And the benefits are massive. Just quickly on the gamification of what we've gamified everything on Quainted. There's one big score each and every employee and employer gets. The employee is measured on how encouraging they are. They are measured on the things that they do, the impact it's got, and we call it the applause they receive. And they're measured on their wellness, and then other smaller aspects. Employers, on the other hand, are awarded points to their overall score when they have great leadership, when the culture is great, when their energy is high, and when their employees' wellness is high. And then there are also some other smaller components. So hopefully in future, Quainted will be the go-to platform when we want to see which company is the best to work for. Then you can just go and compare all the scores, or you can just see, I want to join another company, and you can go and fit your own personality to theirs. Oh, there's another thing I forgot to mention, personality. Quickly, sorry, Martin, but I'll just move it aside.
No, you carry on.
Thank you very much. But hopefully that will be the go-to platform one day for employees to find a new employer and to find someone with the same values and personality as theirs. So on personality, the one thing I've neglected to say is Quainted is also a platform to find people with the right personality for your organization. Also, if you have client-facing staff, typically in a branch, you want to know that you are getting people in the right positions that want to face customers. So you probably want to place extroverts there. Quainted has the capability, and again, it's personality type indicator agnostic. We don't take preference to any methodology, any personality tests. So currently you can take a Myers-Briggs personality, place it there and see if it fits the job. Or you can see, when building teams, if a new personality type will fit in with the already existing group. That's also a very important feature that I completely forgot to mention. But personality fits all part of Quainted.
And it sounds like you keeping it fun while doing this serious stuff. And but what about if a company is already using another enterprise social network?
That is probably the trickiest question. It's always difficult migrating from one platform to another. With the social economy, this probably becomes easier. And just to illustrate, I'll just go through a couple of things. But depending on the platform, Quainted can then help companies to migrate from whichever platform to ours. It might be as simple as logging with your LinkedIn account, and we will import all the data, to as complex as we need to do a full-blown transition. Part of this transition might be running two social networks in parallel. Sorry, when I say social networks, I talk about enterprise social networks. Or it might be, if we are permitted the time, that we manage this transition via working on the back end of the other social network and then importing the data. On the other hand, if companies do choose an enterprise social network and they are comfortable with Quainted, we also have very much the same functionality as some of our competitors. I've mentioned earlier on that most enterprise social networks collaborate around documents, projects, or business-related topics. Quainted does this standard. We also have version control, document management, document repositories, collaboration around that. That's standard with Quainted. So when companies do choose Quainted and they want to do the migration, the one thing that's very important is functionality was never neglected. So we are functionality rich. We offer the same functionality as standard enterprise social networks, but we come with this massive differentiator. We actually make people part of the enterprise social network. Migration, so they never have to fear that we will be light on the other functionality. So we do often, I'll repeat myself again, document management, tasks, events, project management tools, change management tools. Soon we will have stakeholder analysis tools, collaboration, hashtags, search, security, privacy, and so forth. But it is a difficult thing. It might not always be ideal for companies to have two enterprise social networks running in parallel, but we can do that, and we are hungry. We're eager to be the best and the go-to enterprise social network, so we will make things happen.
And it seems like you're getting there, because now that you've got Quainted up and running, and I know that you secured a steady customer base, what would now the next step be?
Next steps would be we need to grow. I think that's plain and simple. But our approach to how we want to grow is sort of cast and set in stone. So we believe if we can be the go-to enterprise social network in Africa, we can make it anywhere. The reason why we believe so is Africa is really challenging. We don't sit with the same problems that some of our competitors sit in the UK or the States. It's really different. Some of the real life problems that we've got here is, for example, financial. We can't afford to pay $30 per person per month to use an enterprise social network. So we really need to cut that down in order to provide a service that's accessible to the African market. Some of the other things that are truly unique to Africa would be, and I'll quickly use an example, surveys. We can't have an online community 100% of the times. If we look at the mining sector, every time we do a survey in the mining sector, it's probably necessary for us to go and approach 90% of the staff with an offline printed version of our solution. So we need to come up with unique methods, ways of approaching that market. Also, the cell phone, we know that Africans they love their smartphone technology. They love cell phones. So we've got a big market on cell phones. So also, but this isn't unique to just Africa. Everyone is moving to cell phones, but the technology on the cell phones probably isn't that smart compared to our competitors in the States or in the UK. So also, we need to be accessible on really old cell phone technology. We believe if we can capture the African market, then we can really capture the entire globe. So that's our first priority, is to really be accessible to the African market, to be not the cheapest, but definitely giving value for every buck, and then to make plans and put proper plans in place for where the market isn't accessible. If we can attain this, then the world is our oyster, and we're really looking forward to that.
Well done with that, and all the best with that, and it can only benefit the human capital growth across Africa. Thanks so much for being part of this and sharing with us, and we will look at innovative ways to work together on the Proudly for Purpose platform to bring that even into greater context for more and more people, also globally.
Thank you, Magna. And we believe Quainted has a purpose, and the purpose of Quainted is really to take the market forward. And human capital, I think, have long neglected really the capital, the potential that sits within human beings at work. So we really want to tap into that, exploit it, and then take it forward. So Quainted has a big purpose in life, and we're really looking forward to, and with your ventures, with your business, purpose is a strong word, but it's a powerful word, and we really do hope that we can work together and take it forward. So thank you very much for the opportunity today.
that wraps up for the session for today. Thank you again, everybody. Go well. See you then. Bye-bye.